Welcome back to Inside College Basketball Now with Jon Rothstein. Pleased to be joined by St. John's head coach Rick Pitino. And Coach, welcome. What was your first ever memory of Madison Square Garden?
Well, I signed my letter of intent. Back then it was scholarship papers on the floor of Madison Square Garden. The University of Massachusetts was playing in the NIT against Marquette, and they had Dr. J on the team. The interesting thing is Marquette under Al McGuire turned down the NCAA to bring his 4 New Yorkers back home. And that was the last time that was done. And after UMass got blown out, I signed the scholarship papers on the floor of Madison Square Garden.
That's incredible. And I remember you telling stories when you were coaching the Knicks about how invigorating it was as a younger coach still at that time to be a New Yorker driving from Westchester to the Garden. I'm curious, all these years later, is it still as exciting and thrilling to be going to coach at MSG?
It's just as exciting. I still remember being with UB Brown as assistant coach, and Bernard King led the league in scoring to UB getting thrown out of the first game against the Pistons. And with 10 minutes to go in the game, we were down, I think it was 8 minutes to go in the game, down 10, and we won the game. That was exciting. Not that he got thrown out, but that we won the game, and then we wound up winning the series. And then obviously as a head coach of the Knicks, winning the Atlantic Division as well in 52 games.
And I know, obviously, last weekend was exciting for you, getting win number 900 at the Cintas Center. But I'm curious, and I know that you've always been so proud of your son, Richard, and you were proud of what he did at Florida International and Minnesota and New Mexico. But Xavier is a different type of program. So I'm curious, when you walked in for the first time and saw that he was the steward of a program with that type of ilk, what was it like for you?
You know, I think the Xavier job is a lot better than the general public thinks. Now, everything today is a lot different because the NIL.
Sure.
You know, I think if they get their NIL in line with everyone, Richard is a terrific evaluator of talent. Remember, at New Mexico, he had JT Toppin and Donovan Dent when nobody was recruiting either guy. Donovan Dent goes out to UCLA. I think he's making $3 million, and I think Toppin's making $3.5 million. So he recruited both of those guys when nobody recruited them. So he's got he's a really good evaluator of talent. I remember he convinced me to take Rozier back then when he was ranked 70th player in the country. So I think if Xavier gets their NIL up to where Georgetown, Villanova, Connecticut, we are, I think they got a legitimate shot of being one of the top teams.
And your coaching tree is such a part of your career and your legacy. And there's so many guys under you that have went on to have great success. And obviously, one of them is your former captain at Kentucky, Mark Pope. What advice have you given him about navigating the waters that he's dealing with this season?
Well, remember, he beat us when they had a point guard and they had the great center. I think we're the only team that saw those two. And then they both went down. So Mark right now has a makeshift team. He without a point guard, without that great center, and he's in troubled waters right now. But if anybody can get him out of it, he can. Now, I will say this, and John, you know this as well as anybody in the business. Anytime you recruit 8, 9 new players every year, you're going to make some mistakes.
No doubt.
And the chemistry may not be there. The players may not gel right away. I mean, that's been the case of ours. We're trying to put 8 new players together, 4 new starters in a lineup. I almost laughed when they ranked us so high. I said, wait a second. Last year's team deserved the final ranking. This year's team did nothing. But now they're coming into their own. It's taken a while for them to gel. Great group of guys. And certainly you just don't know sometimes what you're going to get, regardless of how much money you spend. You know, they got to throw that out the window because that doesn't necessarily, I think the New York Mets have proven that.
Well, that brings me to my next question, because retention at the highest level of the sport is what's working for the best teams. Arizona, Michigan, Duke, UConn, they all have players back.
Iowa State,
they all have players back. When you look at your own program now and you see Ruben Prey has eligibility left, Ian Jackson, Jozon Sannon, how much will retaining your own players be a priority in the offseason after this year ends before you go out into the portal?
Well, I think Ruben's certainly probably going to come back. He deserves to start here. I think that Josan has a great future here. I think Ian has his head at other places and trying to make the pros. That was the intention, and we wish him nothing but the best. He's a terrific young man. And certainly Dylan Darling's going to come back, as well as a few other guys that maybe in a more of a reserve role.
Yeah.
But, anytime you get 3 or 4 starters back,
no doubt,
which we don't necessarily have, that's a big key.
You said some interesting stuff after last weekend. You talked about now the drive becomes for you to get 1,000 wins since you got 900 last weekend. You could win 30, 35 games a year and do that in a couple of years. But I know when you took the St. John's job, you signed a 6-year deal that goes through 2029. Do you anticipate coaching beyond your first contract with St. John's?
I said to everybody when I took the job, been on record, that I'm going to give it 3 great years at St. John's, see if we can turn the thing around, build it, and then after 3 years, make a decision of is the future upward mobility. Obviously, we have Mike Rapoli here that backs the program. That's a big edge for us. Without Mike Rapoli, I don't think we can accomplish the things we're accomplishing. But I'm going to make my decision after this year to see can I keep it going at this level with the intensity and passion I have. If I can, then it'd be great. I'd love to coach 3 to 5 more years if I could. I think right now that's in God's hands, not mine.
What do you need to see from St. John's to obviously give you the affirmation that you can continue to operate on the level you've operated at really the last 2 seasons?
I don't think it's St. John's. St. John's lets me do my own thing, which I'm very appreciative of. I don't think it's necessarily St. John's. It's where I think the Big East is, where I think can I get to the program legitimately as a top 10 program? And those are things I have to look at more than anything else. But I'm very happy at St. John's. I love competing at Madison Square Garden. So there's nothing negative about St. John's. It's just about where I'm at in my lifetime.
All right, well, let's talk about the Big East because you and I had talked about this over the summer. I talked about it with Mike Krzyzewski as well. We're seeing now more of the emphasis in college sports on the Power Four conferences. And look, there's a lot of basketball left between now and Selection Sunday, but it feels like the Big East is trending to being a 3, maybe 4 bid league. From your vantage point, what has to happen for the league in basketball specifically to catch up with the other Power Four conferences?
Well, if I was the commissioner, which I'm not, I would say that every school has to agree that you have to spend from $9 to $11 million on your NIL. Everybody's got to. That would set the bar. At least you have a minimum of $9 to $10 million you have to spend. The coaching in this league is great. You can get a guy like Shaheen who gets the guys to play at a defensive pitch like no other coach, which is great. You have Mac at Creighton. Gets the guys playing great offense, as good as anybody in the nation. So what you need to do is get everybody. Now, we need Georgetown and Villanova to come back. And certainly Villanova under Kevin Willett has come back. Yep. We need Georgetown to come back. And I think Ed Cooley has that ability to turn it around. We need Providence to come back. We need the league to get stronger and deeper. Remember, at one time, we have 11 teams in the Big East? But then when West Virginia and Syracuse and Louisville and all those teams left, so we need to get it 6, 7 strong each year at the 11. And once you get that in the Big East, will be back.
You put together an arduous non-conference schedule this year that obviously featured some of the best teams in the country, Iowa State, Alabama, several really, really good games, Kentucky as well. I'm curious, though, now that you have went through that, do you think your team will be more prepared for the NCAA tournament when you get a matchup like you had last year with Arkansas versus the way you were a year ago when you didn't have that type of a non-conference schedule?
Yeah, we played Michigan in an exhibition game to overtime. We played Iowa State to a point loss. The only game we really played poorly was Auburn. Everybody else we played well. So I would do that every year. It is difficult when you've got 4 new starters and you're not really gelling right then. But that type of competition tells you what you need to work on. We found out right away that we needed to work on defensive rebounding. We need to become a better passing team. So I knew what to work on. If we open up 10-0, playing a lot of guarantee games, then you really think you're a lot better than you really are.
How has St. John's won 7 games in a row?
Well, I think everybody says Dillon Mitchell in the starting lineup, but that wasn't the case. It was 3 or 4 different things. Getting Dillon Mitchell more minutes is a major factor because he's one of the great players in the country. Ian Jackson's really gotten a lot better. He doesn't turn the ball over as much. He's taking better shots. He's really learning the game the right way. I think Bryce Hopkins has elevated his game. Zuby's been the staple. I have great confidence in Josan Sanone. I think he's got the potential to be a great basketball player. Dylan Darling has elevated his game. So just guys getting better, getting used to each other. And I think offensively we'll become a much better basketball team.
Was the team at a lower point after the Kentucky loss just before Christmas or after the Providence loss early in the year?
I would say Providence, but what people don't realize, we just blew out Georgetown on the road. We played 36 minutes of good basketball versus Providence. We ran into a bad 4 minutes. That can happen. I think in New York, people panic a lot quicker than other places. They also, when you win, they exaggerate it quite a bit more. That's what makes New York so great. So we're fine where we're at. We never panicked. We never did not believe in ourselves. We just kept improving, keep getting better, and the group is coming together now. But we've got a tough stretch. Obviously, we still have to play UConn twice. We still have to go at Seton Hall. We still have Villanova home. We've got a tough stretch. My son's coming back in here. He was up 16 against us, and they got a very difficult offense to go against.
When did you have the epiphany to put Dillon Mitchell into the starting lineup?
Well, we started him early in the year, but I knew he made our offense better. He made our defense better. His passing ability. He always guards the best player. Like last game, he guarded their point guard against Biz. I always say his name wrong. Bizjak.
Yeah.
So he was guarding him. I think he shut him out to no points in the first half against Butler. So that was good. But he's also explosive in the open court. He takes a lot of pressure off Ian Jackson handling the basketball. So it's more minutes, but everybody's gotten better.
Yeah. Well, I know obviously one thing covering you at multiple stops throughout the years, how much you love your players and how much you love watching your players develop. And I can tell when you talk about Zuby Ejiofor, how much you loved coaching him. What do you think it's going to be like for you on Zuby Ejiofor's senior day?
It'll be very emotional as any player I've coached, because he's here and now he's here. Yeah. He's gone from not playing at Kansas to the preseason player of the year. It'll be very emotional for him as well as me. And, when you look at it, when I say, what's life going to be like at St. John's without Zuby? Right. I don't like that feeling at all. So that's one thing. And then you got Dillon Mitchell, and then you got certainly Bryce Hopkins. You're losing a lot with this class, certainly. And we're losing Sellers as well. Osiah Sellers is also another great asset to our program. So my greatest disappointment this year is the fact that I only have 8 months with these guys.
Yeah. And Coach, obviously part of the journey here is going to be your next game, which is Tuesday against Depaul. Your impressions of the Blue Demons under Chris Holtmann?
Well, they gave us fits here at Carnesecca. They can beat anybody in our league. The thing about our league, you look at Connecticut's had a lot of close games, and they win a lot of close games because they're together. But this league is Providence has probably been the unluckiest team in the league in losing 4 or 5 overtime games. Georgetown on any given night could beat anybody. So Seton Hall could beat anybody. Xavier could beat anyone. So you can't take one team in this league for granted. And certainly DePaul's capable of beating us if we don't have our A game.
What do you think it's going to be like next Friday, February 6th, when you play UConn at the Garden?
Well, it's a sellout. We'll have 10,000 people. They'll have 9,000 people. It's always an exciting game, certainly. Villanova's a sellout as well at home, which is great. It'll be magical. We drew 15,000 people for Butler. will draw 16,000 people for Xavier.
Now, you've told me stories about when you were starting at Boston University, Jim Calhoun was at Northeastern, and UConn was nothing, not just in New England, but really across college basketball. As somebody who started his head coaching career in New England, what has it been like for you to see UConn evolve from nothing into this now powerhouse nationally that's won so many national titles?
Well, I've always said this, the three greatest resurrection jobs in my lifetime of 52 years of coaching was Jim Calhoun in Connecticut, a Yankee conference school, building it into a three-time national champion at that time. That to me was unbelievable. Second one was Jerry Tarkanian at Las Vegas, building that out of the desert. That's like building the casinos almost. And then the third one was John Calipari at UMass. That program, I know from going there, that was, I had to give $10,000 to the athletic budget to enhance his salary at that time. So they had nothing. They hit rock bottom. So you got UConn and UMass in the Yankee Conference going on and going to the Final Four, and Jim winning 3 national champions. Talk, building a national champion in the desert. So to me, those were the 3 greatest resurrections I've seen in my 52 years.
How does this UConn team, in your opinion, compare to the 2 that obviously won back-to-back national titles in 23 and 24?
They're not in the same class with those teams. That's unfair for anybody to compare. You had Castle. You had a very, the backcourt was great. The center was, they are very good. Could they win a national championship? Yes, they could. But I don't think they're as good as those teams. But they can still get to a Final Four and win a national championship.
Does this rivalry feel any different leading into the game next Friday because you guys won a couple of games against them last season?
I don't consider it a rival. I think they're in a class by themselves. I think we're just resurrecting our program, but I don't consider that game more of a rivalry game than Villanova or Georgetown or Providence or anybody else, because they're in a class by themselves. They're the engine that drives this league. They have the fan base like Kentucky. So we're trying to catch up, certainly, and we're working at it.
Well, let's wrap on this then. What are the biggest ways that your team can really improve between now and Selection Sunday?
Oh, we can grow defensively. We're still nowhere near us where we need to be at the defensive end. We're giving up too high a percentage from the three-point line because we've tried to choke down the paint. Now we got to sort of extend it a little bit more. But we've got a lot of room for improvement, which is exciting. If you reach your potential right now in the beginning of February, then we're probably not an elite team. But we got a lot of growth ahead of us.
Well, Coach, it's going to be a lot of fun to cover. Appreciate a couple minutes. Know how busy you are. And as always, look forward to staying connected along the way. I'll see you Friday at the Garden.
All right, John. Take care, buddy.